All right, before we get into today's episode, I do want to make a disclaimer. This episode is going to contain talks of mental health, including depression and anxiety, as well as suicidal ideation. If that is not something that you can handle, if you are a child, if you are one of my students, please don't listen to this episode. It is perfectly okay. You can catch up on some of the older episodes if you haven't listened to them all, or I will see you next week. I don't want anybody to think that my podcast is the place that you come to for the highlight reels and this is how you fix yourself and this is how you achieve your life. Like, nah, I'm being for real. This is probably one of the realest podcasts I've ever listened to, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. I will be real with you. I will cry with you. I will suffer with you. I will be honest with you, and I will tell you it is hard, and you are going to want to give up. But do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on the Lord. And this is coming from a person who feels ready to just give up on everything. I'm telling you, like, it's challenging, it's so difficult, but you have to keep moving. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Hood Soft Life podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina, and in this podcast, we talk about navigating the challenges that come with growing up in the hood and leaving those challenges behind for a soft life. Growing up in the hood comes with its own set of challenges, but what people don't tend to tell you is not only do those challenges follow you once you've made it out physically, but they tend to intensify. So I'm bringing you along on my journey. I'm going to be honest with you about the struggles and the lessons that I'm learning to achieve a soft life. This episode is dedicated to the person that is suffering in silence. So let's get started. All right, y'all, let's just go ahead and jump into our weekly check-in. I just want to make sure that everybody is healthy, everybody is safe, everybody is doing okay mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It is cold and flu season, or it's getting to be cold and flu season, depending on who you are and where you're at. It's cold and flu season for me. And so I guess there's also a new COVID variant going around, so I just want to make sure that everybody is okay. Get your flu shots, get your COVID shots. If you don't believe in vaccines, just stay away from me. But I want to go ahead and jump into the meat and potatoes for today's episode and just talking about suffering in silence. And I'm going to just be very, very honest with you. This week was trash. Like, it was just trash. And it had nothing to do with work. It had nothing to do with like exterior factors. Like, it was just my mental, emotional, spiritual health is just trash right now, if I'm going to be 110% honest. And earlier this year, I was diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease, so I try to make sure that I go to the doctor on a regular basis just to make sure that everything is all right, just to keep my health in check, because that is something that can progress very quickly, very easily if you're not paying attention to it. And I ended up getting some medical testing, and I got some results that I'm not the most happy with. My doctor claims it's not a big deal, but I'm looking at her like, it's looking like a big deal if you ask me. But that was the straw that broke the camel's back, if I'm going to be honest. And I just broke down. I was super frustrated, and I am somebody who is hyper independent, and not necessarily because I wanted to be, but more so because I had no choice but to be. I didn't have the best upbringing. My parents weren't around. And if I wanted to get out of the hood, if I wanted to get out of the situation that I was in, I really had to work and grind to get to the point that I'm at now. And I feel like I had to grow up super quickly as somebody who was super young. And I have been through a lot. And I don't know if anybody has heard or seen the episode where I talked about being homeless, but I was homeless. I had to really just work on getting myself out of that situation to get myself to where I'm at, but I've done a lot of it alone. And yes, I've had people that have helped me. Like, I don't want to ignore that. I've had people that have helped me along the way, but what I mean alone is, like, at the end of the day, I'm coming to a house by myself. I am doing all the work, the actual work by myself. And it's like you have nobody to turn to if like shit really hits the fan. And so I am just at a point where I'm extremely tired of that. And I feel like there's this huge void that is missing in my life, and it is love, and it is like a family. If I'm gonna be 110% honest, I didn't get the family that I would like to have in the future, and I don't really know anybody who is in a similar predicament like I am, and that's not what I want. But I think that makes it very difficult for other people who know me, who are friends with me, who have relationships with me, to understand like what exactly it is that I'm struggling with, or what it is that I'm missing in my life, or that I'm looking for. And so it just makes you feel isolated already, because like nobody understands like the pain that you're going through, on top of the physical isolation from your actual family. And so I just broke down, and I was just crying, and I was just so frustrated, because it's just like, as I look around, it's just like there are people that are getting the things that I have been praying for, that I have been asking for, that I have been wanting for so long. And I just felt so abandoned by God, because it's just like, dang, like how many times have I prayed for this? How many times have I asked for this? How many times have I stated like this is something that I want, it's a desire of my heart, and everybody else is getting it except for me? I'm not perfect, and I've only been in my faith journey for about a year now, but it's just like there are people who aren't even dedicated to their faith, and they're getting the things that I'm praying for. God, like why is that the case? Like, why is it that my path is so difficult compared to other people that I know? Like the people that I'm friends with, like they didn't have to go through the things that I went through. And I just felt like that was just so unfair, that I had to be the one person that I know within a certain radius of like, my journey has been ultra difficult. And it's just, I'm tired. I'm so tired. Like it gets to a point where it's just like, I'm tired of the fighting. I'm tired of the hyper independence. I'm tired of the hustling and hustling and hustling and hustling just to feel like I'm only moving but so far. And I just was breaking down, and I was crying, and I was just listing off all my grievances and frustrations to the Lord. But it was just like, the other half of me was just like, well, you can't talk to God like that. You can't question God. You can't be angry with God. But it was just like, the human part of me was just like, well, this is how I feel. And I would be lying if I said that I'm not angry. I would be lying if I said I'm not frustrated. I would be lying if I said that I'm not tired of this, if I'm not exhausted of this anymore. I was just extremely exhausted, mentally exhausted, because it was just like, well, I'm angry and frustrated about not having this, but the Lord says that you shouldn't be angry and frustrated. Or whatever, the Lord, the church, whatever. It's just like, I feel like Christians paint this picture of like, you don't get to question God at all. You can't be angry with God or with his circumstances at all. And I was just like, well, I am. If I'm not allowed to be angry or frustrated or have questions, or if that makes me a bad person, then like, what is the point of being a Christian then? Because I can never guarantee that I won't have a question. I can never guarantee that I won't be angry or frustrated about a certain situation. So what is the point of me continuing to walk in this path? And I was really just thinking like, what's the point? What is the point of me dedicating my life to Christ? What is the point of me dedicating my life to this path and working so hard for this path if it's not working, if it's just so difficult, and if I'm going to be shamed and shunned for having questions and for being human and just for just being straight up down and out, just for being so vulnerable and honest and frustrated and sad. That was just where I was at. It got to a point where I just didn't even have the words to articulate how sad and frustrated and angry I was. Like, I said everything that I needed to say, and it was like a game of tennis where I was just going back and forth, like, this is how I feel, well, this is how you shouldn't feel, and da-da-da-da, back and forth and back and forth. And then eventually I just stopped talking, because it was like, okay, I don't have anything else to say. I've laid out all my grievances. I've even done the rebuttal for all of my grievances. But just because I've done the rebuttals for my grievances doesn't change the fact that that is how I feel. Like, somebody was telling me, like, God is close to the brokenhearted, and he is going to save those who are crushed in spirit. And I'm like, I appreciate you telling me that. That doesn't change the way that I feel, though. That doesn't alleviate anything for me. And then I felt guilty and bad for the fact that it didn't alleviate anything for me, because me as a Christian, I should be able to be lifted in spirit in that, and I should be able to feel better in that. And the honest truth is, I did not, and I would be lying to you if I said that it made even a little difference. It really didn't help. I was just so drained in my emotions. I was just so drowned in my emotions, and there was literally nothing left to give. Over the last couple of days, I've really been trying to find sermons specifically that are going to help me during this time, because I know I say like past tense, but honestly, like, this is something that I am still struggling with, and I feel like it's going to be an ongoing thing for a little bit of time. And I just know that like even though I'm angry, even though I'm frustrated, even though I feel cheated or I feel like God is not showing up for me or I feel abandoned, that doesn't mean that I should just distance myself from him. Even though I feel like I don't have the words to pray, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't keep praying anymore. Like I need to continue. But what do I say, God? What am I supposed to say when I don't have the words anymore? What am I supposed to say when I'm frustrated? What am I supposed to say when I feel like I don't have anything left to say? And so I ended up finding a couple of videos. I ended up finding a couple of sermons that helped me. And I know it's super easy to just breeze through the description and to not even look at the links that are in there, but I've linked about 5 different videos that have helped me during this time. And 2 of them are sermons by Priscilla Schreier. I feel like that's how you say it. They have really been helping me. I've been listening to them on repeat. And what I will say is that they did not erase my pain. I will tell you that right now. They don't erase your pain. They don't make the pain go away. They don't make it even a little bit easier, but they will start to open your heart and they will start to give you an idea of what homework you can do to help yourself, what to pray, what to say, what to ask for, and just being honest. And so one of the sermons I was listening to, she was talking about the story of Naaman. This was the first time that I had heard about this Bible story, but he was a captain of the army and he was a decorated man, but he had leprosy. And if you don't know anything about the Bible or if you don't know anything about leprosy, essentially it was like a serious disease. And she ends up explaining it in detail. I would highly recommend watching the video because I don't have that for you. But the part that she said that stuck out to me was that leprosy will cause nerve endings to become numb so that you cannot feel any pain at all. And because leprosy was so devastating at the time, this decorated army captain couldn't just say like, oh, I have leprosy. No, he had to cover it up and he would still go to work and he would still be doing what he needed to do. But he still was going home and struggling with the leprosy, trying to figure out how he can get healed or how he can get rid of his symptoms. And he was struggling and suffering in pain and suffering in silence behind those closed doors. And Priscilla Schreier ends up talking about how leprosy can only be hidden for so long before it leaks out of the body. And even though like leprosy is not a thing in our time anymore, there are still sicknesses and illnesses and pain that we are struggling with, and we are trying to hide it every day. And we're trying to mask it so that other people don't see it, because if they see it, it will be so devastating to us, or they would condemn us, or they would mock us, or whatever the case may be. So we hide it. At the end of the day, you still have to come home and deal with that. And it's not until you are home alone that you are crying or you are breaking down or you are suffering or you are struggling with that pain. And that's the only time that you get to deal with it. And she calls that the functional leper. So that's the person who can still go out and they can do everything in their day-to-day life. Like they can go to work, they can hang out with their friends, they can go ahead and just have their regular day-to-day activities, even though they are struggling and suffering on the inside, and nobody has a clue. But the thing about that is like, even if you are good at masking that pain, it's only a matter of time before that pain, that struggle, that suffering comes out. And there are some groups of people in society, in American society, that are forced to suffer in silence. Like they have no choice because they will be condemned, they will be mocked. It is seen as a weakness if they're honest and if they're vulnerable about what they're going through. But in all honesty, like it's not a weakness. It is human. It is human to go through things. It is human to go through suffering. And not talking about it, not being honest about it, one, just makes your problem greater, and two, the scarier thing is being a person who can mask their pain so much to the point where nobody knows what they're looking for. And now you don't even know what you're looking for. You don't even realize that you are suffering. You don't realize that you are struggling, because not only do you have others convinced that you're okay, but you have now convinced yourself that you are okay. And if I'm being honest, I'm somebody who has got it down to a T. I don't think that if anybody looked at me, they would see the pain and the suffering that I'm struggling with on the inside. And there are times where I don't get a second to deal with the pain and the suffering that I'm struggling with. And I have to swallow that. And I have to deal with that only when I get a second. And like she said, like there's only a certain amount of time that you can do that before it starts to leak out. And I'm just going to be honest, like I'm at a point where I can't even hide it anymore. Like I am just struggling. And what I will say is like, I don't want, for anybody who is watching this or who is listening to this, I don't want you masking your pain, you swallowing your pain, you struggling with your pain to be the thing that takes you out. You don't have to mask your pain. You don't have to struggle in silence. You don't have to keep it to yourself. Please find somebody that you can talk to. Find somebody that you can have pray for you. If you feel like you don't have anybody, please please send me a message on TikTok. That's like the platform that I'm most active on, but it will really take you out if you keep masking it, because it's not until you feel like you have nothing left to give that you really have no choice but to face it, and your emotions will take over and you can't think clearly anymore, and you will make a decision that you can't take back. If I'm being honest, like, that was a thought that really did cross my mind this week a couple of times. It's just like, I don't have anything left to give. I don't have no energy. I don't have any words to pray anymore. I don't really know what to do next. But what I do know is that, like, I'm masking a lot of pain and I'm masking a lot of struggling, and it gets easy. It gets super easy to do because we don't live in a society that makes it easy for you to talk. We live in a society that makes it really easy for you to edit things out, to cut things out, to put makeup on your face or whatever and pretend like you're not struggling with something. If you are somebody that is struggling with suicidal ideation, please call that hotline number. It's 988. Please call that hotline number, because there are other people that are struggling in this world. They just don't want to be honest. There are not a lot of people who will get up and be honest about what they're struggling with. And I was extremely nervous about making this episode and getting in front of the camera and being extremely vulnerable. I'm getting emotionally naked on the internet. That's something that people don't do. But I wish more people would, because when I was looking for something, when I was trying to find some sort of person that was struggling with what I'm struggling with, I felt so alone, because it was just like, okay, so nobody is talking about this, which to me makes me feel like, okay, so nobody else is dealing with this except for me. But I know that that's not true. And the other thing that I was looking for is like questioning God or being angry with God. And I am so thankful that I found something that helped me go through that and go through the motions. And that's something I want to talk about. It's like, questioning God is normal. I don't know who keeps preaching like you can't question God, that you can't be frustrated or angry with God. And I kind of wish that they would stop preaching that, because that literally made me feel like, okay, well then I shouldn't be a Christian, because I'm going to always have a question. I'm going to always be frustrated at some point or another. Like, that is normal. That is human. And I want to read some scripture for you that helped me with this, because at first I felt super, super guilty for just not being okay with my circumstances, for having questions or for being frustrated. So I'm going to read parts of these scriptures, and I'm starting with Psalms chapter 138 all the way at the bottom at verse 8. And it says, "The Lord will work out his plans for my life, for your faithful love, O Lord, endures forever. Don't abandon me, for you made me." Moving on to 139. "O Lord, you have examined my heart, and you know everything about me. You know when I sit down or when I stand up. You know my thoughts even when I'm far away. I can never escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the grave, you are there. If I ride the wings of the morning, if I dwell by the farthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me, and your strength will support me. I could ask the darkness to hide me and the light around me to become night, but even in the darkness I cannot hide from you. To you the night shines as bright as the day. Darkness and night are the same to you." And the reason I wanted to read those pieces of scripture was because, number one, God already knows everything about you, including your thoughts and your feelings. So pretending like you're not angry, pretending like you're not frustrated, pretending like you don't feel abandoned would literally do nothing for your relationship with the Lord, because he knows how you feel already. So if you are feeling abandoned, if you are feeling lonely, if you are feeling frustrated, talk to him about it. Me personally, I'm going to tell you that there's nothing wrong with that. I would be honest with him and just say, like, this is how I feel, and this is why I feel that way. And maybe to you it doesn't seem justified, but this is what I am struggling with in my human experience, and this is how I feel. And I think the other thing about it too is that during this time, I was just thinking, like, it's just so hard. It's so hard to walk with the Lord. It's so hard to not have questions or to not be frustrated or whatever the case may be. And so it's just like, it would just be so much easier if I just gave up on my Christianity, if I gave up on my Christian walk and turned to the world and I started doing the things that I shouldn't be doing again. Because I feel like when you are struggling, whether that's emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, all you want to do is alleviate that pain. You want to stop the suffering that you are going through. And from the outside looking in, it feels like the people who are doing what they're not supposed to do according to the Christian faith, like it seems like they just have it way easier. It seems like they're just skipping in the fields. They're getting what you're praying for, or they're getting stuff that you didn't even pray for, that you just feel like, well, dang, like I'm doing my best. I'm trying to do what I can in my Christian walk, and I'm not getting anywhere. Maybe life would just be easier for me if I gave up my Christian walk and I just said, all right, I'm going to go back to the world. But in all honesty, number one, just because somebody looks happy, just because it looks like somebody is skipping in the fields of daisies, doesn't mean that they are actually happy. And number two, that life that they're living comes at a cost. That's not for free. The enemy doesn't just give out stuff for free. You are exchanging your soul to be able to live whatever life it is that you are living here on this earth. And I can't afford to give my soul. Even if this is one of the hardest things that I'm currently going through, that I can't afford to give my soul. So I'd rather just stay right over here, because there's nowhere else to go. You cannot run from God. If you go up to heaven, God's going to be right there. If you go down to hell, God's still going to be there. You are on this earth, God is there. You could go back to the world, God is still going to be present. You could stay in your Christian walk, God is still going to be present. You can't run, you can't hide. But what you can do is you can be honest. And what you can do is you can talk to God, and you can tell him, I don't have any words, but I want you to see my heart and feel my heart. I don't have the ability to pray because I don't know what to say, but I want you to see my heart, feel my emotions. God sent down his son in human form to be able to experience what we experience. And he has been through pain. He has been through suffering. He has been through struggle. So don't believe that not for a second he doesn't understand what you are going through. And I'm not just saying this for you. I'm saying this for myself, because I'm still struggling. And I would be lying to you if I said like, oh, I'm feeling good now. I'm feeling better now. I'm not. I'm still trying to work through the hopelessness. I'm still trying to work through the lack of faith that I'm feeling right now. I'm still trying to work through the depression. I'm still trying to work through the suicidal ideation, but I'm still working through it. And it's hard, right? Getting out of the hood is hard. Walking in your Christian faith is hard. The two are very similar. You have to leave behind what you already knew to become a new person, and you have to go on this path, and you have to sacrifice things, and you have to embrace new things that are going to be difficult. You're going to go through suffering. You're going to go through self-doubt. You're going to go through doubt of the Lord. You're going to go through all of these things. And still, it is still worth it, because at the end, you are getting to eternal life. If you are going out the hood, you are getting to the life that you want on this earth, and it's difficult. And I don't want anybody to think that my podcast is the place that you come to for the highlight reels and this is how you fix yourself and this is how you achieve your life. Like, nah, I'm being for real. This is probably one of the realest podcasts I've ever listened to, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. I will be real with you. I will cry with you. I will suffer with you. I will be honest with you, and I will tell you it is hard, and you are going to want to give up. But do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on the Lord. And this is coming from a person who feels ready to just give up on everything. I'm telling you, like, it's challenging. It's so difficult, but you have to keep moving. And questioning God is normal, and he is not mad at you for having questions. And that was something that I had to learn too, because I feel like so many people try to tell you like, oh, you questioning God, like he's not going to be happy with that. You're not supposed to do that. It's normal. John the Baptist questioned the Lord. John the Baptist got arrested for doing what he was supposed to be doing, and he was in a place that he never thought that he would end up, because he was doing what he was told to do. He was doing the right thing. He was spreading the word of God, and he got arrested. And while he was arrested, he was waiting. And at first he was faithful, but as time went on, he kept hearing about the miracles that Jesus was performing, and he was like, I'm still in this prison. I'm still in this prison, and I'm still waiting, and I shouldn't even be here. And he ends up asking in Matthew 11, verse 3, are you the Messiah that we've been expecting, or should I keep looking for someone else? That is so normal, honestly. Like, it's so human to be like, am I doing what I'm supposed to? Like, am I walking in the faith that I'm supposed to be walking in, or should I be doing something else? Am I doing something wrong? Is there something else that I should be looking for? And when John the Baptist asked that, Jesus didn't get mad. He didn't condemn him. God didn't condemn him either. Jesus said to send the disciples to just tell him about the miracles that he's been doing. The blind can see, the deaf can hear, the lame can walk. And so he was just like, tell him about what I've been doing, aka, even though I haven't given you the miracle you've asked for yet, it doesn't mean that I still can't perform miracles. You're just going to have to be patient. And you're going to have to just wait your turn. You're going to have to just continue to be faithful. Do your best. Do your best, because I would be lying to you to say, oh, it's going to be so easy to be faithful even when you feel frustrated or when you feel like you've been abandoned or something is taking too long. Just continue. Just do the best that you can. If you don't have no words to pray, just talk to, just be honest about that. I cannot stress that enough. You cannot be lying to God. There is no such thing as lying to him. If anything, you'll do your relationship a disservice by pretending that you are something that you are not, that you are not feeling something that you actually are feeling. I actually ended up doing some research and finding that there are 15 people in the Bible that question God at some point throughout the Bible, including Jesus. In Matthew 27, verse 46, Jesus cries out in his suffering while he is on the cross, while he is getting ready to pass away and pass on to the next life. He says, my God, why have you abandoned me? And I feel that. I feel that he is suffering. He is going through the worst pain that anybody on this planet could ever endure. And he is calling out to his own Father, my God, why have you abandoned me? And while he is suffering, but even though he is suffering, he is still crying out. And he says this twice. And after the second time that he cried this out, he ended up being released from the suffering of his body and he ascended into heaven. And it worked out. And not only did he die for our sins, but he was released from his own suffering because he cried out to the Lord. But don't think that it's going to take 1 or 2 times to cry out to the Lord. No, you have to keep crying out. You have to keep crying out to the Lord. You have to keep being honest. You have to keep pushing and just being honest about what you are struggling with. We don't know how long it's going to take before you get released from whatever it is that you are suffering with. But you have to keep crying out to the Lord because he will release you from whatever it is that you are suffering from. You might be going through that suffering so that you can be refined, so that you can be the person that he has called you to be, so that you can do the thing that he has called you to do. So you may not be released right away because you're supposed to learn something through it. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I am sick of learning stuff right now. I need a break from learning things. I do. I really do. But I also know that for me to be the person that he has created me to be, I got to keep learning, I guess. I'm not going to lie to you and say like, I'm happy about that. I'm tired. I am. And I'm ready for a break, but I still got to keep going. You got to keep going. You have to keep crying out to the Lord. What I will say though is like, there is nothing wrong with asking questions. There's nothing wrong with being angry. There's nothing wrong with being frustrated. There's nothing wrong with being disappointed. You should be able to feel your emotions, whether that is with somebody on this earth or with the Lord. There is nothing wrong with that. And something that I tell my students is that there's nothing wrong with being angry, but what you do with that anger, that can become a problem. When you are angry with the Lord and you start cursing the Lord, denying the Lord, ignoring the Lord, walking away from that's a problem. That's a problem. But you can be angry and say, I'm angry. And I acknowledge the fact that I'm angry and this is why I feel angry. But even though I'm upset, I'm not going to disrespect you. If you are face to face with somebody, I'm angry. I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to put my hands on you. I'm not going to curse you out, whatever. Same thing with the Lord. You cannot disrespect him. You cannot curse him out. You cannot do any of that stuff. You can be honest and say that you're upset. Say that you are angry. But what you do with that, don't let your emotions be the thing that allows you to go way off the rails and now you're disrespecting the Lord. You can be angry, and I just want to say that one more time. You can be angry, but what you do with your anger, what you do with your emotions, that may cause a problem for you. It can easily cause a problem for you if you don't get your emotions under control, if you don't get your emotions in check. The major point that I have is that you have to keep going for that tiny piece of yourself that is begging you to keep moving forward. I was talking to my friend and I was just being honest with her because she was calling to check in, see how I was doing, because I had texted a couple of my friends like, please pray for me. I'm struggling. And I was honest. I was like, I'm struggling with depression. I'm struggling with suicidal ideation. I just don't have anything else left to give. I don't have anything else to say. I don't have anything else left to pray. But please pray for me. That's the other thing too. Even if you don't have anything to say, find somebody that can pray for you. Find somebody that can find the words for you, because just because you don't have anything to say doesn't mean that you should just cut it off at that. Even though you feel isolated, you feel alone, I know that there's got to be somebody that you can call, somebody that you can text, somebody that you can ask for some help. But I was talking to my friend and I was just telling her, like, I'm struggling with these things. I am. And I'm tired and I'm frustrated and I'm exhausted and I don't have anything else left to give. I don't have anything else left to say. I'm done. And I was telling her I'm ready to just finally rest. But even though I am drowning in these feelings, even though I feel like I am extremely drained and I don't have anything left to give, there is this tiny, tiny piece of me that is begging me to keep going. And I have to believe that that is the Lord telling me, like, you have to keep going. I didn't bring you this far just so that you could be disappointed, just so that you could be in despair, just so that you can be weary. I didn't bring you this far just to give you nothing but suffering. And for anybody who has that tiny, tiny piece of themselves that is telling them to keep going, to keep pushing, that is God. Underneath all your pain, all your trauma, all your suffering, He is drowned out by all of that, all your emotions, but He is still whispering to you, keep going, keep going. I'm going to be there with you. I'm there with you in the suffering. I know that there are so many tears that I have cried, not just in front of this camera, but privately and personally. And I know that every tear that I'm shedding, He understands what I'm feeling. He understands my suffering. And I just need you to understand that, like, you got to keep going. At the end of that sermon that I was listening to by Priscilla Shirer, she ends up talking about how her grandfather ended up changing the trajectory for her family. And how, because he gave his life to Jesus, their lives were changed forever. And she was like, if you don't have a legacy like I do, don't be discouraged, be excited, because you get to be the first person to do it. And that's why I keep going. If I'm going to be 110% honest, I keep going because I know I'm going to be the first person in my family to change the trajectory of my family's life for the rest of generations that there is to come. I'm not a parent. I'm not married. But what I do think about a lot is the family that I will have in the future. And I want them to know that I love them so much that I want to give my life to Jesus, that I want to keep going even though I'm drained and I'm tired and I feel like I don't have anything else left to give. I am keeping them in mind and I don't even know them yet. And so you need to find your why. You need to find the reason why you keep pushing. And if it's not God, you can be honest about that. I'm going to be honest about the fact that, like, it's not because of God. Like, it's whatever desire He gave me in my heart. Like, my future family is the desire He gave me, and I'm going to keep going for them. And I'm grateful for that desire, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful to the Lord for that. But I am going to keep going for them. And I want them to know that I gave my life to Christ for them. I gave my life to Christ for myself too, but also keeping them in mind. And so if you don't have any role model, if you don't have any legacy, if you don't have any kind of example that she was talking about, you get to be the first person to do that. And I know it's hard. And I know you're tired. And I know you are just so ready to throw your hands up and say, I'm so done. But I know that there's also a small piece of you in the back of your mind that's like, I gotta keep going. I have to keep going. It doesn't make any sense to you because 99.9 of you is ready to go, but that 0.1% is like, just keep going. And it's enough to keep you going. And I gotta tell you, like, you just have to keep going. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on your life. Do not put your hands up and say, I'm done. I don't have anything left to give. You have something left to give, and you just gotta take it day by day. If you got to do one task at a time and then cry it out, do your thing. Whatever it's going to take for you to keep going day by day, but He didn't bring you this far just to suffer. And that's something I'm reminding myself too, is like, I'm not about to give up on this life and have this be the end of my life and the end of my journey, the end of my story. It's like all I did was go through suffering. This is supposed to be for something. God's going to get the glory out of it. And even though I'm exhausted, even though I'm drained, even though I feel like I have nothing left to give, I'm going to keep going. And it's difficult and it's challenging. And I know it would be so much easier, supposedly, if I just gave up. But I'm going to keep pushing anyway. And I need you to do that. I need you to keep pushing anyway. And I hope that my vulnerability and my honesty allows people to just admit to themselves, like, there is something that they are suppressing, there's something that they're suffering with in silence. You don't need to come on the internet and tell people. You don't need to tell other people if you are not ready to tell people. But the first thing you need to do is just be honest with yourself. Acknowledge that you are struggling with something, because people get really good at lying to themselves, and that's going to be the thing that will kill you. That is going to be the thing that will kill you if you don't get it together. The last thing I'll say before I move on to our shadow work prompts and then closing this out is that you need to take small steps at a time. Small steps at a time. And I know some people will make you feel like you can think your way out of this and that you can talk yourself out of this. When you are struggling this much, that's not going to work. It's really not. You're going to have to really pray about it. If you can't get a therapist, do some journaling. You're going to have to really work hard, which is the exhausting part of it. But you're going to have to work hard to get yourself through this season. But this season is temporary. And that's the other thing that is bringing me relief, is that this is only temporary. And I'm not going to go back to the world and sacrifice my soul, because what's temporary for them is whatever high that they're on right now on this earth, because they will sacrifice their soul and have an eternity worth of suffering. I'd rather have temporary suffering right now to have an eternity of everlasting life with God. And I know for some people right now, like, you may not be in a space where you even want to hear that. I completely understand, but I'm going to still tell you anyway, because my prayer is that this will soften your heart just a little bit, for you to start thinking about what you can do to move yourself through this season, to get yourself through this season, so that you get to see yourself on the other side, and that you get to see what all of it was for, and that God gets the glory out of it, and that you get to see why you went through that and be grateful for that season. All right. Usually I do 3 shadow work prompts. This time I have 5, because I know that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to find a therapist, or it's difficult or whatever. So this is something that is helpful. And I really, really want you to do as much homework as you possibly can while you are struggling. So prompt number 1 is, what emotions or thoughts have I been hiding from others, and why do I feel like I need to? How does it feel to imagine talking to God without censoring myself? What would I say? What moments in my past remind me that God has shown up, even if it didn't seem like it was right away? What small things have kept me alive, even when I didn't want to be? What is one small act of care or faith I can practice this week, not to fix everything, but simply to prove that I'm still choosing life, even in the dark? All right, y'all, we have reached the point where we are at our affirmation for the week. And our affirmation for this week is, I may not see the light right now, but I trust that it still exists. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that 3 times. If you have the ability to close your eyes, close your eyes. If you want to write this down, however you want to speak this positivity onto your life, find a way to do it. So, I may not see the light right now, but I trust that it still exists. I may not see the light right now, but I trust that it still exists. I may not see the light right now, but I trust that it still exists. All right, y'all, that is all I have for you this week. I hope that me being honest and me being vulnerable will allow you to feel honest and be vulnerable if you haven't. If you are struggling with something in silence, please, please, please know that you don't have to keep struggling in silence at all. I'm sure that there are people you can go to. If there's not, you can send me a message on TikTok, but please don't feel like you have to keep covering yourself and only dealing with that if you give yourself the space to deal with that at all. And I'm just praying that you continue to take care of yourself. Be honest with the Lord. If you're frustrated, if you're angry, if you're sad, if you feel abandoned, be honest about all of it. And I just want to leave you with one last little verse, and it's Psalms 34:18. God is near to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. And I pray that you really feel those words. But that is all I have for you this week, and I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye.